Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Sean, and I wanted to start off a little introductory video about my vision for this new channel, what it's going to be, how it may evolve, the purpose for it, the background, and also, just as importantly, what it's not going to be. And we'll get into that a little bit too, because this channel is going to revolve around memories of racing in the past, auto racing that holds a some soft spot in my memory, based around collectibles. But I'm not a collector per se, right? So I'm not one of these collectors that is buying things, keeping them pristine in a closet or in a box and that sort of thing. My collecting started because of just, seeing it. It had a connection. I bought it. Now I have it for that memory of that period. And I break them out from time to time and reminisce. Now, I haven't broken them out in a long time. So the other day I was cleaning up my office and I came across my collectibles box. I was like, I think now's a good time for me to pop this thing open and take a stroll down memory lane. And I broke out some things and thought, you know what? It's a shame these things are in a box. Why not share with the world and generate some conversation, right? Because I want to hear from you guys. I want some of these collectibles to spark those memories. It had been a long time since I looked at some of this stuff, and some of the names that popped out were like, oh, wow, of course. I remember him. Like Roberto Moreno, Andre Ribeiro. You get the picture, right? Maybe not, we all remember the legends, the Nigel Mansells and the Ayrton Sennas and so forth. So anyway, let me jump back for a minute and talk about how I got into auto racing. And I promise I won't drone on for long on this. To me, I think it's kind of interesting, and we all have our story. So please share your story with me in the comments. I want to hear from you. Maybe it's similar. That would be really cool. So my exposure into auto racing really came from my father, who gave me a book when I was young, probably about 5, 6 years old, somewhere right in there. This is the actual book. World Racing, Sights and Sounds of International Motor Racing. And this book was a huge influence to me as a kid. I have vivid memories of sitting with this book and poring over its pages, just in awe. I mean, literally in awe of the stories and the cars and the people behind the cars and the teams. Just absolutely amazing. The cool thing about this book too is that Sights and Sounds, it also came with a record. It came with a few supplementals. It came with some decals, like 6 decals, a poster, this 48-page book, but the record was on vinyl, floppy vinyl. And I remember putting it, I had like one of these record players, and you had to put coins on the record to keep it from moving around when you put the needle down. And you'd pack it with coins. And what it did was it narrated as you followed along in the book. They had this narrator, and I remember his voice was like from those old 40s, the racing of the day, that kind of thing. But then it had the sounds of the cars. So you could literally open up a page like this and see these cool McLarens and hear the engines roaring down the racetrack. It put you there, right? Before the days of YouTube where you could actually watch the real race, this is what I did as a kid. But it made a huge impression on me. I wish I had the record. I did do a search online to see if there were any floating around, and I did find a couple. There was one on Amazon. It looked like a complete set, and there was one on eBay that looked like it didn't have the supplementals. Fantastic book, fantastic artwork. And even though I think it was really the intended audience was children, it's quite detailed in what it shows here. Um, it shows all of the breakdown of the cars, compression ratios, horsepower. It even gives cutaways and stuff. So it wasn't a children's book per se, even though I think it was meant to involve younger people into auto racing. Really cool book. This one's in bad shape because it was a highly used book, but I loved it. So that's one thing. And the reason that my dad gave me this book was not only just, to get his son into auto racing, but there was a reason behind that. My grandfather was actually involved in IndyCar racing to a certain degree. I'll show you this picture here. This is a picture of Indy 500 driver Billy Vukovich II. His father was also an IndyCar driver. And this is the 1969 Billy Vukovich II's car, number 98. And those Indy 500 aficionados out there will recognize that 98. And they'll probably also recognize the guy in that hat right there and mustache. That was J.C. Agajanian, who was a really, really well-known organizer, race organizer, and involved in IndyCar racing for decades. Big name in the Indy 500. I don't know if he owned this car. I don't know exactly the relationship with this car, if he was just part of putting Billy Vukovich II into the car. I know he managed some drivers and that sort of thing. But how does this correlate with my grandfather? Well, my grandfather was an executive for Wagner Lockheed, who was the primary sponsor on this car. You can see the Wagner Lockheed on the side here and also the logo on the front. And this was, the beginning of sponsorship, commercial sponsorship in auto racing. It was breaking new ground. Really interesting. So along with that picture, the picture was given to me by my grandfather. Here's one, actually, again, of the same car, Billy Vukovich's II's car, the number 98. Here's Billy Vukovich II. And here, right here, this gentleman in the suit was my grandfather. And you can see they're doing a promotional photo here for Wagner. Wagner made headlights and brake parts and brake fluids. You can see, I'll show you a zoom in here. My grandfather's holding a bottle of brake fluid, and Billy Vukovich II is holding a headlight. And the fella in the middle, I believe, was the crew chief. I don't know his name. But I thought this was a really cool picture. And, that's my granddad. And the other cool thing I thought, too, that's a 1968 Dodge Charger, which was also my first car in high school, coincidentally. So I thought that was really good. I love this picture. So that was the start. And my grandfather took his sons to the Indy 500 VIP treatment, and that's really what kind of started the ball rolling with auto racing and that sort of thing. My family, from that point on, I think about 68, every year we would gather on Memorial Weekend on that Sunday, and we'd hang out by my grandfather's swimming pool, and we'd cook out, and we'd listen to the Indy 500 on the radio as it was happening. Every year we did that. It was tradition. And to this year, we still kind of keep up that tradition. I get together with my parents and my sister and my nephews, and my nephew, and we place bets on the 500, and we have a good time. So that got me into auto racing. And when I was old enough and could afford to actually attend races, I started buying collectibles as memorabilia. And I became a huge Ayrton Senna fan. And not to be elitist about it, but I was a big fan of his before his tragic passing. I have some memorabilia I bought before he even passed. And the market flooded after his passing, of course, because he was such a global superstar in the auto racing world, that the market just flooded with stuff. And you can still get Senna. The Senna stuff is just, it's flooded out there. Did I say flooded? It's flooded. Anyway, a couple of items here that I have. I bought this Senna figurine, and you can still buy Senna figurines brand new. You can get his Williams and his McLaren, and they're out there. This one, though, I actually bought the year he tragically passed. So this dates back to 1994. I remember the feedback on this. People said it doesn't look anything like Senna, but figurines I find rarely do, which is kind of funny. And a nice little Senna helmet, also purchased back in '94. Senna and his Lotus Renault. This was the box that it came in. I love the box and the graphics on that, so I kept it with the box. So anyway, I hope that gives you a little bit of a picture about where I'm coming from. Oh yeah, I'm wearing a Nigel Mansell kart championship hat. You know, Nigel Mansell came over from Formula One. He shocked the world, the auto racing world, and retired from Formula One and said, "I'm going to go over to America and race in the IndyCar series." And he came over here and won the championship. It was fantastic. Really exciting time. I had the privilege of being right there in the pits, right next to him as he, went on to dominate that first year there in IndyCar. Good memories there. Do you remember that time? If so, let me know. And if you don't remember it, if you're younger and you just know these names from your dad or your mom or uncles and aunts or whatever, or just research, if you have any questions, let us know. Jump on into the comments and let's talk about it. Let's go down that memory road. It's amazing to me how fast time flies, and the things that I thought were just a few years old, I pull them out of my box and I say, oh my gosh, I got this in 1994. Where does the time go? So I've got a bunch of stuff that I want to share with you over the years. Oh, one more item that I thought was really interesting. I dug this out of a book that I had been saving. This is a sticker sheet from Williams Renault that has Senna in his car and Damon Hill, his teammate, in his car. And I thought that was really cool. I had totally forgotten that I had this. It was just stuck in a racing book. And what a cool little sticker set. Especially because it's Senna. I like Damon Hill too, but Senna was my man. So I thought that was cool. So yeah, I've got lots of racing stuff. I've got apparel. I've got artwork. I have, die casts. So every video, I'll break out a couple of things. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about that era and talk about those drivers and have that conversation. So I hope you enjoy. Please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you get notifications on when I post a new video. And stick around and let's stroll back through those memories of what I consider to be a really golden era of maybe the second golden era of auto racing. Zanardi in kart, Schumacher in Formula One, Nigel Mansell in kart. Just fantastic memories. And let's go back and talk about them and look at the collectibles. I did want to mention, earlier I said what I didn't want this channel to be. I am not a collector that collects for the value of things. I collect for the nostalgic memories of it. So what I'm not going to do is start talking about, I think this is worth such and such. Because to me, to be honest, auto racing is a niche thing. The collectibles are to be enjoyed, in my opinion, from a nostalgic reason. Yeah, some of them may have some value, When I was going through my collectibles the other day, I was kind of looking and really not. We'll talk about that as we go. You know, value is in terms of like big money. It's not really. I've got a bunch of autograph stuff. We'll get into it as we go. So anyway, hit that subscribe button, please. I hope you enjoyed this introductory video, and come on back and share your thoughts and comments below. And hit that like button too. I really appreciate it. So until next time, I'll see you, race fan.